turns on.
Oh, okay. I make a motion that we open the meeting, the planning board of June 3rd, 2015.
Second.
Second by David Jaquith, motion by Chris Thornton. All those in favor? All right, the Raleigh Planning Board's June 3rd, Wednesday, June 3rd meeting is now convened. The first order of business is an A&R plan for 180 Main Street, Mark Gray. If you look, can you take the notes out from Kirk? Because I'm going to let Kirk, the notes I think give some detail as to a description of what's trying to be done and why it actually is in compliance with the A&R regs. So you want to explain what's happening?
Yeah, they're proposing, this is at 180 Main Street, right at the corner of Church and Main. This is the large lot that's owned by the Todds. And currently there is an existing 3-bedroom, single-family structure closer towards the corner, and then the barn behind that. And as you can see here, they're proposing to take that one lot and cut it into 2 lots by an A&R process, and they're showing you what they're planning on. The original house is going to
These
stay.
are all the same, right?
Yeah. The original house is going to stay as a 3-bedroom, and they've relocated the septic system, and they've gotten the health department approval for the relocation, because the original septic system would be right on the line. And then they're showing a proposed house, which is going to be a 3-bedroom, single-family as well. But that second lot towards the back there, the 137B, is the lot that will be created. It's going to be about 68,000 square feet, and the original lot with the original structure, 137A, is going to consist of, I believe, 38,000. Or I'm sorry, 30,115.3 square feet. So as you can see there, this is in the the Central D district, and the minimum frontage in that district is 125 feet. So they do meet that. The first lot A has frontage on both Church and Main Street, and 137B has 222 feet of frontage on Main Street. Both of those are public ways, so they meet the viable access on public way standard for A&R endorsement. So based on that, I was thinking this was a pretty straightforward. They are in front of the Concom discussing the issues about building the house. So that process is going on now. And they have got the health department approval for the 2 septic systems for each one. So it seems like a pretty straightforward. I did make a comment to them about the A&R plan. In terms of usually there's a note on these plans that actually says, you can see where the signature block is. Usually there's a note that says there's not about that planning board approval doesn't indicate necessarily indicate zoning compliance. So he's actually, there's a note on, I believe on this one to the left. So we had him add that note to the left of the signature block, sorry.
Right down, right where you added that.
Yeah, he did add that.
Well,
I guess
here?
the only thing right now is the
Right, so we know for future, yeah.
yeah. The only thing right now is that he was just printing these off today, and I don't think you were able to get the seal for the surveyor on this copy. We have it on the original, and so that would, he's going to be.
He hasn't signed it, but the seal's there.
Yeah, his seal. His seal is the
That's you?
engineer,
That would be me,
Okay.
and the surveyor's seal is.
Oh, I see it here, okay.
Yeah,
Grasso.
Robert DeGrasso is the one who would be the surveyor.
Robert Grasso, and
Yeah.
so we're kind of, and then, so then it'll be signed after?
Yes. By the end of the week.
Recorded, okay.
Correct.
You know, they had already submitted on the,
That's fine, as long as that note's there. So the note that he's talking about says, the endorsement of plan is not required approval under the subdivision control law, does not give lots or parcels any standing under the zoning of the town of Raleigh, nor any standing and determination under Title V. You know, so that's,
Right.
so,
I just don't know what the difference is between now and before.
because
Weren't there two
because it
lots
is.
before?
no, there's only one big lot right now, and there's
No.
only one structure.
So you're well outside, I mean, where you're building the house was well outside of the 200-foot riverfront,
Yes.
200-foot riverfront.
Oh, it was actually partially in the riverfront.
No, well, no, the lot
There's
is,
two different lines.
There's the riverfront.
no, the lot, the riparian, yeah, you got the 100-foot riparian, and they got 200-foot riverfront, but it's back here.
Here's the 100-foot from,
But then there's,
What ox pasture, I got you.
but I see why you're there, because of the BBW. Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah.
you have a lot, you're there because of the BBW.
but this
Well,
is,
but at least you're outside
this
the
is the
road.
lot that the Clark brothers are proposing.
Oh, it is?
That's where that,
Two-family.
Yeah, that's the,
Yeah, but
Oh, that's right.
Historic
Cafe,
right
Church
now.
Street.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so actually, Kurt?
Oh, yeah.
Third and one, yeah, this is
Oh, good,
one
okay,
way.
so, yeah.
They're the only ones, they're the only ones here. We're able to get
That's
this.
a good question.
Are there any questions by the board?
It's open and shut, it's very open.
I guess, it's funny, Mark.
Any questions?
Did bring up a good point. You gotta take down the stone wall for the drive?
The new owner for the driveway would have to do
Would
that,
have
but,
to get through that wall, yes.
Yeah.
but they have to go to historic anyways, so
No, we don't regulate these
That's
lots.
not our
anyway.
jurisdiction,
that's different
because
jurisdiction.
it's just an A and R.
Yeah.
It's a good point, though. All right.
So, you couldn't move the line over a little wider, to get your septic in there?
Yeah, it was
You had this-
unbelievable.
Oh, no, that
Yeah, so
septic
you-
is
so
gone.
where's your new septic gonna go here, on this one?
The new septic is there
Okay,
behind
yeah,
you.
not
Right in this area.
there. How about on this lot?
Okay, right about here.
Gotcha.
It's a nice place.
With all the 30-foot setbacks and every other.
You had to, I could see you couldn't get it
It's
from
definitely a
there.
good idea, it's a good place to do that. It's great, it's a good location.
Yeah, and it's going to be architecturally pleasing from what I've heard.
Great.
Have to
That'd
be
be
in order
nice.
to get through.
Correct.
Historic.
No, it's a
He's
definite-
gonna have a rounded entry dome foyer of sorts.
It's a great location, nice lot.
Hmm.
So, all right, can I have a motion to approve the A and R?
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Second by David, motion by Cliff Pierce. All those in favor?
Aye.
Do you want
You can vote because
take
you-
these back?
Yeah,
Yes,
sure.
I haven't really.
Are you guys wanting to sign, going to sign these right now, and then you just seal?
That's fine.
Is that okay?
So
So
we
we're
can
gonna
just
sign
do
it,
it.
and then, I'll let you pick it up, if you come by, can you come by
He can't do
tomorrow?
it.
Or
Yeah, but anybody have a problem with that? I mean, he can't do it if he
Kind of
doesn't.
crazy way to get around it,
late?
but.
He's got
Three.
to put a signature right here, and record it, they can't go forward, so.
so we can sign it, and this guy can come.
Yeah, yeah, because they can't go forward anyway, so.
Scratch it on
Fine,
vacation.
so I can get it Friday, Monday.
No, it's just that this note came in
Monday,
today
yeah,
before he
next.
could
All right,
get
you
this.
sent Bob and
That's all.
Okay,
get it.
You know,
yeah,
this,
that would be okay.
and Kurt caught that.
Thank you.
It's imperative that this note's on here. If not, it really doesn't really certify that they could do other things
We
if
have to
they're
sign the,
not. We can't do an A and R.
we have to sign the original.
If it affects the validity.
Well, it's kind of like a good.
It's a good thing.
We're not signing the
Yeah.
bylaw.
They've asked about.
Yeah, it still doesn't give you zoning
Not
approval.
understated.
you
Yeah,
know.
Yeah, yeah, I don't think it's only a way to telecast that there might be zoning problems. I think it was like,
It's just a disclaimer, right?
Yeah,
yeah, that if, because there had been issues, there had been,
so
they can't
presume
deny.
to know that it's not,
It's just a
it's not zoning
disclaimer.
approval.
Oh, I thought he said he was on Mylar.
It's in front of you.
No, that's the extra drive,
Let's just sign these for him.
yeah.
Who did borrow the blue?
That's good. I'm glad someone's being kind of decent with it.
Yeah.
And if it looks nice,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, David says it will, so.
Looks very good at that.
Well, the other one's going through historic right now.
What other one is that? The back?
Yeah.
That's what, one house, two?
Two.
That's the condos? Is that-
It's a
Yeah, it's a
two-family,
condo,
so
yeah.
they didn't need to
Okay, so
come.
he's the one that came by and discussed that condo proposal with us, right? Oh, that's gonna be nice.
I think you wanted to
Well,
make two
it,
separate houses.
it looks like one big farmhouse. Want the blue?
Ken's out
Does it matter? I like my black man.
You didn't come to me. I'll tell you about it.
Legal stuff, blue.
I think in the, let's see.
I have to sign all my stuff in blue, live signature. Once in a while, when you email stuff, I gotta make sure it stays out as blue.
Very lefty.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a.
Who puts the date on it?
House dwelling.
So we're gonna wait for him to sign?
Well, but it would have to be as an
I should
OSRD
ask
or
that,
as a...
Kirk, do you want them to put the date on it, or do you want today's date, put today's date on it?
Yeah, today's date would be.
It would have to be approved by us as a special permit. There's no required two-family zoning in there.
Mark, I'll have,
Just,
Kirk
I didn't
prepare a
realize,
notebook.
I knew they were
and
talking.
copy
if you have
of
a,
all the
you
zoning
have
stuff.
a building in existence.
Bruce Lee binder, is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Answer
This is a brand
his,
new.
Kurt's question, why do you sign in blue or legal?
Legal stuff, why do our lawyers want to do it?
Well, I mean, I don't
He has a
require
difference
it.
in-
They used to require it because they want to be able to distinguish an original from a copy.
I
It's the
thought
best excuse, you know, people, otherwise they're sitting there smudging ink to see if it's an original, you know, but,
that's a good point.
you know, but I've never, 15 years, there hasn't been too many lenders that are strict about it, you know?
Building inspectors are pretty good.
Look at the name of that pen, I appreciate it.
Oh, SKM, yes.
Signing out,
Great.
punch under anything?
I think you Did you have a deal with it, the transaction with them, or did you have to know, what's that guy?
Unless the one I refined it must have dropped it at the house or something.
Okay, yeah.
Well, actually,
They're everywhere. I mean, they're not everywhere. They're down in Dedham, I think, but, you guys got no business in.
Really?
It's one of the busiest ranchers in the
Really?
state, yeah.
Nice business, you know,
Yeah, you work with a lot of real estate, which is really nice.
All right, so that's the A&R, it's all set. Going forward, I think in this one also is, there's been a lot of activity on this particular topic. Well, you know, technology changes, right?
Technology and use, yeah.
And use, so it's more and more
Increased
use,
use,
yeah,
yeah.
so. If you look again, in your packets, open up to, I'll get to the right page, cell tower upgrade 124 Main Street. If you open up to that, please. Again, we're going under the federal law. So this is the T-Mobile request to add 3 antennas on Crown Castle cell tower located at 124 on Able Street. Do you have some back?
yeah, I was just, the actual letter that they sent was pretty self-explanatory.
It's a letter dated May 6th.
Yeah, yeah, and,
You can come up, it's fine, come
Sure.
on.
and it pretty much covered everything, all the bases for these type of applications. Proposing to add 3 new antennas to the existing structure, which is 180 feet above the ground level. They're going to be, the 3 new antennas and 3 remote radio units are going to be located at 178 feet above ground level on the existing tower. In that, also in the letter, they mentioned the Middle Class Tax Relief Job Creation Act of 2012, and they're looking to confirmation from the planning board that they're eligible for the exemption that goes with that, so they can expedite the upgrade. And so they make the case that, in the letter, they make the case that there's not going to be any substantial changes to the physical dimensions of the tower or the base station, and that this is purely a replacement of an existing transmission. Well, actually, it's an addition, but it is, there is no change in terms of the physical dimensions of the tower or the base station, which is the main criteria for claiming exemption. And this is like the other ones that we've had previously. Actually, on this very tower, there's been a number of these, but they are requesting that the board grant exemption from site plan review, as that there are no there'll be no changes at the ground level in terms of the mechanical equipment or any shelters. We're going to use the existing as it is, and as you can see on the site plan, which is actually I included in your packet. But the page to really go to is C2.
Yep.
That's kind of, okay, that's an elevation, and the proposed elevation. Did you have that in C2, everyone?
Yeah, C2 of the site plan, and then if you go to C1, you can see that it's pretty much showing that the existing equipment base station is the same as what's proposed, so they're basically saying there are no changes on
You're
the
not changing those footprints at all?
Yeah, nothing's changing the footprints. I couldn't highlight it in your copy, but where the improvements are going are at 178 feet. There's already a couple of antennas there, but it's really, there's two on either side, and then there's one that you can see on this side that's in the middle. That's what's being added, correct? And that's where the three antenna are going on that array. And I believe
That center array?
Yeah, that center array.
If you look at the plan view, the top you have existing.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Okay, go
Right
back.
here, the existing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 antennas. And then in the middle of that, you move.
Well, that's it, okay.
Yeah, it's on that, but it's on one array.
Yeah.
What do those do?
It's for, cellular, figure.
Those little additions?
Yeah, it's the T-Mobile technology. It's, so if you have T-Mobile service, you're able to make a call, access your data. It's the new technology for 4G that makes, the technology changing, it's making the technology, faster.
To 4G,
different To
okay.
4G, yeah.
And until this upgrade occurs, there's no 4G available for T-Mobile?
You know what, it might not be on the, it might not be on the capacity that
Okay.
they require, because
I'm looking for a new carrier, so I'm thinking if they got new equipment in town, it might be time to switch.
No, but I think,
they're all changing though.
Yeah, oh,
I
I
think you're probably right.
yeah, well, I mean,
Because if they're getting that kind of height, they're getting some kind of coverage, you know?
right,
I mean,
right.
that kind of height gives them more coverage than because it's pretty high up. It's a good location, put it that way.
Yep.
I had a question, it's not a zoning question. Do the town get more money out of this?
Not when they add antennas.
Well, that question has come up a number of times.
curious.
Yeah.
Well, Steve Cassiotis asked that same question because of the driveway. I think he had felt that, but that would just, it's a lease that's
It's a lease
already been
was negotiated,
established.
and
It'd have to be renegotiated,
Yeah.
so it'd have to be done at
Doesn't have
the,
possession of it.
yeah,
That's what, you'd have to ask the selectmen that,
yeah.
or the finance committee. It is at least, I mean, it is a pretty good deal for the town. I mean, long-term leases, and it's a steady source of, it's a good question though, in terms of the access road that we approved some money to, upgrade during.
Still
town meeting.
terrible, right?
That's a heck of a road.
So do you want to verify, just state your name and, are you
Sure.
Jeffrey?
Jeffrey Barbadora.
And so just that the test criteria have been met?
Yes.
And verified? And I think your letter is good, it's pretty detailed. And I like the fact that in each place you, in the test criteria, you cite the section in the law. While some of the others have not done this. I just say the general law, we comply, whereas you broke it down.
Yep.
So I appreciate that.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've done this a few times, and
Yeah, but I
we've
appreciate
always made the
I
assumption that
appreciate the way you
we're
wrote the
doing the right
letter.
thing, but the
Yeah.
criteria
Yeah, I
makes it
like
even more evident.
I can learn something from this letter.
We're
Anyone
good.
who reads this letter can
Okay.
learn
Right.
something from it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna move to allow this without further determination,
Yeah. According to,
under the
what's the
Middle Class Tax Relief and Job Creation Act of 2012.
job? Thank you, yeah, I read the HR 3630. Okay, I'm just, HR 3630. We can allow this, is that a second on that?
Yes.
we allow this upgrade to the antenna.
Yes.
Yes.
Who's up, is that you? Okay,
Yes.
Mark is doing his first second.
First, second.
Motion by Chris Thornton, second by Mark Savory. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
It's a great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good package.
I'll be in touch.
Okay, no problem. Your next step is to, I'll write you,
Yeah, compared to when we
saying
first,
that
we used to, when we first came before.
then you need to go to.
Months.
you'll need to go to-
First selectman.
Well, first we had to figure out what, I remember reading this.
Yeah,
you
you'll
know,
have to.
does the pages on,
This
class
week,
tax.
Health.
I mean, it's 2 weeks.
Oh, really?
It's gone along, seriously, the presentation is very
I'll leave it with her and she signs.
engineering detail.
Well, no, I think what you do is you leave a
More
letter
information, I mean, it's like
with them,
mind-boggling.
and then
And
they,
now, in 2012, they streamlined it, so.
she'll
Right.
get the authorization.
Makes sense,
I
though,
see.
these guys.
Okay.
These guys are all probably,
Thank you very much.
oh, no, we gotta make another
Thank you for coming.
presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This, the 805 agenda item is George Spiropoulos. Spiropoulos, is it?
Spiropoulos, yes.
Spiropoulos. It's looking to place a new business in a machine shop, a former machine shop in 284 Newburyport Turnpike. You may recognize it from your packets and knowledge that I believe it's across the street from Gino's.
I have a picture of it if you'd like.
And Kurt gave us some extra notes, which you can also,
Shut them up.
the extra notes talk about. Now, just so a little bit of guidelines for an informal, I just want to also mention to the board that this is an informal discussion that potentially precedes site plan review. And any other waiver requests or any other, applications that may come before us. So this is more of a listening exercise than us trying to state any assertive opinions, because it's really not a public hearing at this point. We know this, but it's a good chance to allow potential new business in town to understand the process and where the board anecdotally has stood on it. And I think Kirk has done a lot of research on this. And if you look at his notes, in terms of what the zoning allows, so. But also it's a good idea, just to describe what you plan to do and what your needs are and why you think this waiver is necessary for parking.
Sure.
And the main thing is the waiver for parking. is that
Waiving for
correct?
parking, correct. yeah.
All right, so just introduce who you are and who you're from.
Right. My name's George Spiropoulos. The name of my company is called MCR Technologies. The name of the company used to be Mass Cash Register years ago. We've evolved into a totally different business. So, if I look at my numbers today, point of sale side of the business, the cash registers is 7% of our business. The other 93% of our business is we've developed a healthcare package. So if you go into Leahy Clinic, Brigham Women's Hospitals, we have over 455 hospitals around the country that have our software in it. So we do mainly, out of my office, we do mainly software support. I have 19 employees on my payroll. Of the 19, 2 work remotely. One's in Florida, one's in Georgia. I have 3 technicians that are still on the point of sale side that are usually on the road probably 80% of the time. Of the other employees I have in my office, I typically have at least 2 to 3 people traveling around the country every week. So it's not too often I have a full house of people in. Even if I did, it would be a total of 17 people to date that I would have in this space. So what I'm looking to do is move my business. My business is currently in Wakefield, Massachusetts. We're outgrowing our space, probably in about, probably over about 6,000 square feet right now. We're just expanding. So as we expand, we need more space, and we're looking to get into, this building will not look the same when I finish with it. So I'm looking to put some money into it and make it look like a high-tech facility. So
That's great.
You're not expanding the footprint in any way?
no.
Yeah.
No.
How many square feet in the new building?
16,000.
So you won't be using all of it?
I will not be using it.
But it gives you a little room for future.
There's room for future expansion. You
Will you be subtenanting at all?
No.
Today,
Today, no. You
how
know,
many visitors, do you have any visitors, or is it a non-visitor?
I have a very unique situation. I have one large account that buys from us. I like to equate it to being a distributor of our product. We meet with them usually once a year, so.
Okay.
So it's
yeah,
primarily an office use.
correct.
That's great.
It was originally a machine shop.
Shop. Yeah, so
in a-
here's my problem. If I look at what the regulations are for parking, prior to me going out and buying this business, it would say if I'm building out 6,000 square feet of office space, I would need 60 spots, because it's 1 per 100. So,
Well, some of these,
That's,
some of the some of the protectives, some of the bylaws, haven't been upgraded and,
it's
but there is some
sort of an
latitude.
unrealistic
Yeah.
square foot per person.
Right, that kind of density, you're not gonna get, part of the reason a company would wanna be out here is to have a little more room you're not gonna have one person every 100 square feet, you're stacking bodies.
Correct.
So,
Are you buying the building?
Yes, well, right now, just to let you know what the process is, right? We've agreed on an offer. The septic system failed, so we're going through septic right now.
Because there are sewer in town. Yeah.
So, which is fine. I have that covered, and I think that should be fine. Really, this is one issue. I just want to make sure that there's going to be some leniency moving forward. When I go to buy this building, I don't want to come back and say, geez, I need 60 spots, because it's really.
If
No, that's the kind of covenant you can't live with. You can't. yeah,
If
that's
you
right.
grow, is there space to grow the parking?
Yes, there is. Yes, there
Okay.
is. So, talking to my architect, in fact,
So how many spaces do you have now?
currently,
22.
there's actually 24, if you look at it, or what we've designed. I had my architect take a quick stab at it for me, and draw out 24 spots. 17 employees. If you look at growth of my business, and really, if we start talking about growth of my business and where we're going, we're covered here in the United States. A lot of my growth will probably be outside of the United States. My newest product that's coming out has globalization built into it. So that being said, really, it's just going to be a world headquarters. As my growth, begins, I'll probably end up having people over in Europe and Asia and other smaller facilities.
So just intermittently, they would come here and visit, that's all.
Correct. So really, could I go up to, another 20, 30 people? Maybe, But on the left-hand side, the north side of the building, the architect had said we could put another, 20 spots over there if I needed to.
Where?
The north side, out there. They're in that space. over
Where's the
there, up
sep-
there.
where's the
Septic's
septic
gonna be
system?
right here in the middle.
In the front of the building.
Wouldn't be in the front, it would be kind of this little jog right here.
And you pull in off this
Correct.
access road. What is this? Is this Route 1?
That's Route 1,
So you'd need a state approval to get in.
if I did that, yeah.
Yeah. But as long as there's an answer, that makes me happy.
Well, there's a front setback requirement of 50 feet, which parking is not allowed in. They have to go to the ZBA for a variance for that.
Little landscaping, something like that.
Well, that's the purpose of the setback, is to have landscaping.
Anything would be.
After
But
this-
still, I don't know, how far back is the building from the street,
It's pretty far back.
Is it more than 50?
Hard to tell what the.
I would say probably,
Looks like it's the
I'd say about 50. That's the front you're looking at.
Yeah, that is, it is one, yeah, it's one.
Yeah.
Hey, look, you can just tell.
Is that the actual lot line?
So the parking spaces are already.
There's no room behind the building for the driveway through? just-
Possibly,
So-
possibly,
Well, we
possibly,
don't know
yes.
where the
Correct.
right of way is.
Now, again, my initial plans are
Parking spaces that
to
are
get in there.
actually in that-
You're gonna pave them and spread
It's
them?
already there, they would still
Correct.
have to get
Yeah.
a ZBA.
No, not if it's already.
Look, it's a vast
There's already
improvement over
spaces
what's
out
there
in
now.
front.
so.
Yeah, I know. Oh, there is?
Yeah, along
Don't-
that.
I mean, would you
along that
agree?
edge.
I'm just looking down the road.
No.
I don't know if
We
they're
need to
actually
start
doing delineating
incrementally
about parking
improving the
now.
area.
Right.
If you look at some of the previous.
It's an incremental improvement in the area.
Right here, yeah.
When
that
Gino
would-
does his thing and this happens, and it's a good improvement.
Absolutely.
And he just got a lieutenant across the street.
So, I think, in this case, as Cliff had mentioned, and was the former chairman before, is that in cases, it does give us the ability to do that, right?
Well,
These people.
yeah, we can waive the parking requirements, and we frequently do, because they're frequently excessive for what people actually want to do.
Correct.
Yeah, because number one, it's not like a retail store. Number two, it's not a manufacturing facility that's
Correct.
employee intensive or labor intensive, for instance.
Yeah, right, so, and you made a convincing case that you don't, for what you have now, you don't need that many spaces, it seems to me. But
Correct.
then there's a question of future growth,
Future growth
which is
is,
kind of speculative.
it is speculative, and when we look at future growth as well, like I mentioned to you, I don't, you know, a lot of my employees are remote, so.
It's a good
But I'm
location.
just wondering, in this photograph here, there's a double row of parking, and I wonder why, could you not do that?
I don't know why the architect didn't do double there and he only did singles.
It might be
It's quite
something to ask
possible,
him
it's
about,
quite possible I can add another
because you can just,
row.
those cars can just drive onto that street, right? So,
Correct, yeah,
I mean, it might look better to do it this way, maybe, that
Yeah.
correct,
aesthetically, it's probably,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah,
You know, those
it's
architects.
still safer
Yeah.
to.
yeah.
And there are some other spots too.
It's safer in the winter, it's safer to do it this way.
If you look at the loading dock, going further down, I could possibly fit another 3 to 4 spots down there.
Did he measure the turnout, how much space between the rows? I mean, there are standards, but
No, he's okay, just visually, he's okay.
Yeah,
did you know what the space?
I do, but I don't have a
We're
little.
usually looking for over 20 feet, like 22, 24 feet.
22 to 24 if it's two-way, if it's one-way, it comes down to 18.
I could get that for you, but
Go through this all the time.
I'm pretty sure it's,
But as long as it's adequate.
I mean, but I would
Site
like
plan,
to
we do
see
site plan.
the reserved parking area shown on your site plan, so
Okay.
we plan for that, you know.
Ahead of
To
time.
show a reserve.
Yeah.
okay,
We've done that in the past,
okay,
as things grow. Let's say we have a warehouse use that could convert into something else like manufacturing or office, but it's warehouse, so it doesn't have many employees.
Yep.
So then, when it does convert, then that reserve is already there.
sure.
And that's up the street, we've had those situations.
I mean, it's gonna be good for the town. I mean,
Sounds like it.
It's-
Yeah, no,
It'd be nice to have some
aesthetically,
landscaping
it'd be
too
good,
on that
it'd be good to
front.
have.
It's gonna be landscaping, that whole, the front of the building as you see it today, I'm gonna restucco the front of it, I'm going to redo the whole, front of the building.
Mhm.
You're not gonna see those columns in the front.
Right, and then you're in a good.
The front entranceway is gonna be redone, it will look like a different building.
Oh,
I
great.
can guarantee you that you won't be disappointed with what I do to the building,
Hey,
so.
this is an upgrade.
Do you own your own building now?
No, I do.
Just about anything would be an
Oh, so
improvement.
you went from lease to, this is a good chance to be home, right?
To own, yeah. Yeah, we're in Wakefield now, I live in Ipswich, so selfishly, it's about a 5-minute drive.
Does anybody have a huge problem with any of the concept here?
No.
Oh, it's something I think we'd like to, find a way to approve, basically.
Right.
And I think that's the, yeah,
I would've thought
glad
the
you
same
came
thing,
in
so.
informally because,
No, if we did, we would tell you, but I don't, as a chairman, I don't.
Anybody complaining about the new
No.
commute?
No, most of my employees are from the North Shore.
Oh, great.
I started mapping everybody out, I got Gloucester, Danvers,
You
Peabody.
did the locust.
Yeah, really, my general manager probably had the worst.
Remember, they're going counter commute,
Yeah, correct.
so this is really key.
It is, of course it is, yeah.
yeah.
So-
That's a great thing to be able to go the opposite direction.
It is, and when you get people from the North Shore,
Don't have that.
I don't.
when you have people that live on the North Shore and work on the North Shore, they don't, you kind of keep them, because if they have that
I
kind
have
of.
to drive to Devon.
Yeah. You're not gonna
I
go.
go.
I'm
I would love to go this way.
I'm on the advisory board for the Boys and Girls Club in Chelsea, and I go in there probably once a month.
Good for
and it's just an awful commute.
But people do it, and they use it, that's where the offices are.
Yeah.
Bavaria?
All right, so I hope,
Bavaria architect?
Ken Savoy is the
Okay.
architect.
so you have a PNS, so you can move forward now?
So right now, we have a signed offer. We're negotiating now. We just found out we have some roof issues, so I'm probably gonna have to do the roof, septic. I'm okay with that, but.
That's your diligence, not our thing.
Yeah, but anyways, I wanna go to PNS, but prior to going to PNS, I just wanna make sure that, if I knew that parking, if those restrictions for 60 spots, I'd walk away.
No, if we didn't have the ability at all, we were stuck.
But it seems like there's quite a bit of latitude both in the general
Yeah, no,
laws
but-
and in our own bylaws and rules and regs to
Yeah,
allow
we
a deviation from the standard, especially when there's a compelling case that
And we
you
have
have
that
to have
ability.
needs.
Yeah.
Great.
Amen.
So-
And work with Kirk throughout the process, and
Okay, we can focus on
And
the
when you get to that point, we'll definitely try to make sure it's an efficient process for you.
Okay, great,
So,
appreciate it, so,
at least I will try, so.
great. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well. Thank you. Thanks again.
All right, we'll see you later.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.
All right, good luck, buddy. Take care.
Yep.
Thanks.
Do you need a copy of this at all?
Thank you.
Can you take it, keep it?
Is that okay?
Yeah, I have it electronically.
Yeah, you're starting to file this.
All right, take care.
All right, take it easy.
Thank you, have a great evening, thanks.
That's next.
That's great.
It is great. Make a huge improvement.
How long had that building been empty?
Not too long.
Across the street, maybe.
6 or 8 months.
I would have figured Mass Scratch Register was gone the way the buggy whip. They used to see on all the retail stores, the labels and everything, you know, and not quite so much anymore, but that's interesting that he somehow pivoted into something different.
Maybe you couldn't see it, which was there.
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
Seems like that.
It's great for his employees. All right, we're on, we have some business that's on the other business, there's a couple important items. I don't want to get bogged down in them, in the sense that some of these items, as Kirk and I have discussed, they kind of beget, they can't be settled tonight. You know, they can be informative, but there's some things we need to deal with and we'll finish up in the future.
Yeah.
We're gonna be ongoing, but I think it's important for Kurt to let people know it is coming down in future meetings that we need to come to some kind of resolution with. But something that we can deal with tonight is, now, we're gonna be able to deal with that tonight? Dexter Drive, or is that gonna be held
Well,
up?
Dexter Drive,
Yeah,
there is a
that's the
request,
first item here.
because it has been accepted by the town.
Remember, it's accepted at town meeting, so. Is
So-
anybody here in Dexter? No? Okay.
So it has been accepted. Mr. Clark is actually requesting that the remainder of the bond be,
Right.
oh, sorry, there's that,
That's
right.
kind of I ask these things in a formal request.
There's $20,000 left in terms of surety. And I've actually talked to both Highway Department and with Larry, our consulting engineer, and they were both, there are no outstanding issues. There's no outstanding issues with Concom. So I think we do have the street acceptance hearing was held prior to the town meeting, but they didn't have the Mylar at the time because I wasn't actually aware that they only took Mylars. I thought they could take paper copies.
At the registry of deeds.
The registry of deeds, but they
Well,
do.
that's why, yeah.
So, the Board of Selectmen hasn't signed this yet. They won't be signing
It's
it.
kind of a
until-
housekeeping item that we discovered afterwards, which I don't think until it's, I don't want to have a vote on losing surety till this thing gets recorded. That's kind
Yeah,
of-
we'll have to
So
hold
is that
off.
the people have any-
surety until-
That's my position.
I think it's probably administratively correct to hold off,
Okay.
yeah.
We can
And-
sign
and
it,
it's
but we
not-
can't vote.
So I want us to sign it, then it can get recorded, and then the next meeting we'd have
Yeah,
to make
until it's
it.
done,
Is
we
that-
can't
is that
release the
okay?
bond.
This has nothing to do with releasing security, we're just,
No, it's just,
No,
so they can
right,
record,
so-
get a
We
record.
would have been ready if they had known they needed the
Yeah.
Mylar, you know what I mean? So that's why it's somewhat of a delay from the May town meeting, because they didn't know this, right?
Yeah,
They should have, but that's the burden, they should, that's not for us to know.
The engineer should have submitted Mylars knowing that that's what he needed to prove.
Right, I mean, I know the registry only, because we do these all the time. So can we sign this?
Well, but that actually raises earlier we signed paper copies of the A&R that he's got to bring to the registry of deeds.
yeah, that's what A&Rs we've done before, and those have been recorded.
They've been both.
They've been
We've
both,
done-
but even paper has been.
You may want to just give
Well,
him a
but
heads
you
up.
asked the reg-
I called the register of
He
deeds,
called.
and they said that, at least with definitive subdivision plans, you have to have a Mylar.
Okay, but just Call them to take the A&Rs.
Yeah, I'm gonna find, I
Well,
didn't
I
ask
don't
that
know,
at the time.
typically, when we have street acceptance, this kind of thing. But that's a good question, why
It's going to the
they,
registry.
why they inconsistent, right?
Right.
Anyways, that's what, he did the research, that's
Yeah,
what they
I mean,
said.
it's just, that's what led me to believe that paper was okay in second,
Yeah.
but since we
I'm
haven't
pretty
really
sure they
done
could
this, sort of in here.
What do you know? Do you
I'm pretty sure they could require a Mylar.
Yeah.
I've never
For
seen
the A&R guy?
for the A&R, yeah. Just
I
give him a heads
talked
up
to him
before he goes
actually
down
today.
there.
I actually asked, he said he was branding a car,
We'll find out.
But
so I don't know
They'll
why.
come back if they don't.
Look, we'll find out.
Yeah, right. No, but it's- I suppose.
The burden, okay, let's just sign this, please, could you?
I will
that's-
sign that,
yes.
right?
Remember, this has already been approved.
I'm very
We
selective.
have written letter
Special
from,
permit in
Larry, we've written letter from
Actually,
Patrick,
Mr., or the 285.
you know,
That would be a
verifying
Yeah.
that everything's been, so. I just wanna make sure, that, you know, I'm making sure that the file is, it's just not verbal. that there is-
It's,
6-3.
third, yeah.
They save every one of my lives.
Yeah.
And make sure you
We
can-
did that.
They must not be rolling them up.
I know.
Going flat,
You get a whole head of them.
But they scan everything.
Yeah, right. They're available electronically.
I noticed they stayed down in Shetland
Where's your-
Park, but they never.
Where's your fine?
They still may though. I think they're rehabbing the
I
old
think
building.
somebody
I
swiped
think that
it.
was.
I'll get you another one.
They initially signed a 5-year lease.
It's not as convenient, but when you get there, it's
Temporary location became too good to pass up. They
Did you
had to
bring the
stay
meetings in?
on the water.
Did you sign it?
Now I'm an associate member, so I only sign special permit.
Special.
And I fill in for whenever you guys are out.
That's pretty important, the special permits are.
Plus I'm the history
All right,
detective.
you got this. You have anything else to say on Dexter?
No, on Dexter, that's pretty much.
On to the next.
The, what is, we have a copy of, in our packet. You have a copy of the ZBA?
I was actually just gonna, because I was reviewing it, and I was gonna give you an update.
Well, you have to weigh in, right?
Yeah, I was gonna tell you what,
What your,
yeah, those
comments
things are
would
hard
be.
to copy, they don't give you, they're all like stapled together multiple times, and then you have a bunch of 8.5 by 11 copies, so they're kinda hard to reproduce. So I kinda just figured that, since I'm doing the review and writing the letter, I'd just fill you in on what I've been doing. with Street
Wednesday
Boards.
hearing.
At the 18th.
And
So I
you're
was
gonna
gonna
get-
send them
You're gonna send us a copy of what you plan, on. What's your input so far, what have you found?
Oh, that's what I was gonna go over here
Okay.
tonight. I was gonna let you know what my review. As soon as I find the next one. Basically, it's
They're
for-
asking for our input, everybody sees that in the agenda, correct? This is for Boxer Road at 157, for a special permit for an attached in-law accessory,
You just trying to put a little addition on to live in or something?
an in-law accessory apartment.
Yeah, in-law accessory addition, at 157 Boxford Road, Richard Karam Jr. So this is a ZBA a zoning board of appeals application. And what they're proposing is a 700 square foot floor area for this accessory dwelling. And in according to zoning bylaw 6.6, 700 square feet is the maximum that's allowed. So they're maxing out the amount of square footage. In doing the, I would note that the actual addition is going on to the front of the house, facing Boxford Road. And you can actually, I will let you guys see, pass around the drawings here so you can kind of see.
So they can't give the special permit to a trust, it has to be an actual beneficiary of person?
Yeah, that's the only thing I was gonna comment on, was that, that's just based on on what the bylaw, they still need to make some, there's nothing in the application that lets us know, and this is really for the ZBA part of their review, none of this is us, but since I'm
It's good to bring it out in the open, because it is zoning.
Yeah, yeah. But they would just need to confirm that the unit is on the same utility meter, that the apartment will remain under the same owner as the primary. Then there is this stipulation in 6.6.3.2 that if it's held in a trust, which it is, the Karam Family Irrevocable Trust, special permit must identify one or more natural persons who are beneficiaries. So they haven't really indicated that in the application, as far as I can tell. And like I said, this is all stuff that I'll send a letter to Lisa, who's doing the review for the ZBA, just a reminder of this. She may have already, flagged all this stuff. But
And you also need to submit us a declaration of covenant.
yeah,
There has to be a statement from the,
yeah, a statement from the there's a statement in the, that's given in the zoning bylaw where they want to see in the declaration of covenants that, about the termination of rights upon the transfer of ownership. So once this current owner tries to sell it, then the rights associated with this use would go away.
I was gonna raise that point as well. I mean, it was good planning, but it doesn't mean that they can't, the new buyer couldn't apply for the same permit. It would most likely, if they had a circumstance with an in-law, it would be allowed, but otherwise, it couldn't be continued on as a two-family.
Yeah.
Does the addition look like it belongs to the residents?
I haven't really seen the architecture. It's not in a historic district, so, I mean, they'll need a building permit, but there's no real regulation on the architecture. It is attached.
is it in the buffer zone? I think it's in the buffer.
Well, no, it's in a buffer zone? No, they didn't show a buffer zone.
Okay.
If they did, then that would be something they would have to catch.
Has anyone ever seen this house?
I haven't gone out.
I think I know this house,
Yeah.
and you don't see it from the road at all.
Yeah, it's pretty far
Like,
back there.
If
yeah.
he puts it on front and if it doesn't look like the way we want, if he's the only one looking at it, it's his land, he's a taxpayer. If no one sees it from the road,
Yeah, I don't
No, it's nothing.
I mean, as long as he's within,
Yeah, it's nothing really to do with
Rights
that,
to
it just
do it.
has to do with carrying on that you can't, in this zoning, you can't start using this as a foot in the door for multifamily.
So you think you could do a
And
multi-family?
multifamily and condo dwelling, that's not, that's the only
Yeah.
thing.
Well,
No
that's
one
what-
has anything, in-law apartments
I guess
certainly
that's
are
what-
welcomed and
Yeah.
recommended, that's
There's,
great.
criteria are set up the way that.
Yeah, right.
That's all.
And they do meet the interior, they only have, it's a self-sufficient unit, in accordance with the bylaw. And they only have one bathroom, one bedroom.
It's only
a
700
kitchen.
square feet.
And it's 700 square feet, so.
I mean, it's a good thing if people.
That's pretty standard in communities around us, because I've dealt with,
Yeah, and it's good that people want to bring in an extended family.
Well, remember, we made that the maximum when we revised that.
Yeah.
It's still big enough,
Yeah, it is, it's plenty big.
For what it's supposed to be,
yeah.
accessory. to the-
All right, I don't, is it?
Those comments were only, really just as to have her flag up to make sure that the questions get answered. I mean, it's not saying that they,
You just extracted the issues that are in the zone.
yeah, pretty much, and she's gonna look at that, but that would just be.
Is that all right that he just kind of,
Go ahead.
that Kirk includes kind of those, I mean, Mark, I agree with you, it is pretty far back.
I'm
But
all for it.
but the
'cause I
point,
know
it doesn't really matter whether it's far back or close, you're setting a precedent for the next one, that's all.
Right.
But they have the same.
You can't like,
same
just because
standards.
somebody's far back, you don't like change the criteria.
Do you want me to put that in a motion?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. Make a motion that Kurt writes our comments
according to the,
to the Board of Appeals.
okay,
Second.
the second to.
No, my only point was like, if no one
Wait,
at all
I have a vote.
sees. his
Mark, I have a
plan-
vote on the floor, so there's no,
Yeah.
so, let me stop. I have a second. Is there any discussion? Go ahead. I just want to make sure you,
No, I just wanted to point out that if it's, well, you already know what I'm saying. I feel like it's a free town, we should be able to, if he wants to do a different architect and we agree with it, no one sees it, no neighbors.
I don't think
No one
anyone's
sees
There's nothing
it's
to
free.
do with
There's
that.
anything
I don't
to
think
do with
anyone's
something
gonna
like that.
review the
Listen to
architect.
me again, this has nothing to do with
I
this
don't think the
whatsoever.
ZBA is gonna look at that.
All it is, what Kirk is doing
Well-
is extracting these right out of the zoning bylaws.
Right.
That's it. So all we're doing is voting on allowing Kirk to point out the zoning that
Okay.
it has to comply with so that the planning board is aware of the situation, because when the building inspector and the ZBA asks us for our input, because we actually try to enforce and utilize the zoning criteria when we approve projects. That's
And
it.
we want the Board of Appeals to ask for, I mean,
Yeah. So it's just one board really asking the other board for input, that's all. No, I mean, it's a good point, but that's nothing, that's not what we're voting on. We're just voting on that, letting Kirk can do that input according to what he's, to make sure that what he read out, what's here, people agree with, because he extracted it right from the zoning, right?
Yeah.
And do you have any questions as to what is there?
No.
That it, it's on the same utility meter,
Yep.
same owner, one or more natural persons rather than kind of a blind trust.
700 square feet.
Yeah, did you read, so that's all, he's just putting those criteria. That's gonna be in his letter to the ZBA.
Yep.
So really, that's not an architectural or, you're right, that's up to them and the building inspector. All right, all's in favor?
Aye.
It's fine, no, it's fine, ask, it's good to have discussion and ask any question you want, it's fine.
Next.
This is another one that could, I'll be ongoing, we have, might as well, people are here for this, so I'll do this first, because there was a petition, Kirk can explain this.
Yeah, actually, I printed out, I printed out your, are you missing?
Yes, I'm
okay.
Bridget. Nice to meet you.
Again, at this point, remember, the road, wild pasture land, it's already been approved, right, at town meeting.
This is the new.
Some of the residents still,
Yes.
there was kind of an ongoing concern when, I guess it gets connected out to Route 1 through West Ox Pasture Lane, that potentially, it's funny, the more I look at it, I don't think people are gonna use it as much as you think.
Well, we're
kind of
hoping
a
that's
pain.
the case, but
No, I don't, yeah, but whether they do or not, the more I think about it, it's like, it's a hypotenuse, it doesn't really gain you that much.
Well, I think,
It's too wide, it's too,
but there's a lot of kids in that neighborhood,
Yeah.
and I think they're gonna be
Anyways.
using it as a cut through to the school.
they wanna make sure
Parents
that the cut through,
zipping through.
Well, that's why we approved it.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
really, that's why we approved
Anyways,
it.
Yeah.
they have taken,
So it's not a cut through, it's just going to
So-
school by the the
This-
fastest way.
again, just to give kind of the parameters, it's not a public hearing, it's not something that, we're not revisiting what's already been approved.
What are
They asking for?
What is
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
I think this is more to present this petition, because we had actually had some discussions prior to the town meeting about wild pasture. And this was at that point where wild pasture estates, the subdivision needed to be accepted. And really, we didn't want to wait another year, but there was this issue that came up having to do with the speed limit and the number of speed limit signs. So I had looked into the process, and when the board had originally done the approval for wild pasture estates, that the speed limit and the sign locations were all set at the time of the definitive subdivision approval, and it was all based on input on our consulting engineers' recommendations. And I was looking into the process that if the board agreed that perhaps that the speed limit was too high, it's 25 right now, and I think you're looking to drop it about 5, 10.
correct. So Wild Pasture Lane is 25. The speed limit in each of the cul-de-sacs is listed as 20. 25, I challenge anybody to try to really drive 25 on that section and not feel like you're sort of going out of control. But with all the kids in the neighborhood. And the reality is that once it hooks up with the Spencer Knowles neighborhood, the speed limit in that entire neighborhood is 20. So the concern is that once they sort of hit that straightaway, that it's just going to encourage people to probably even go beyond 25. And there are 30 houses in that neighborhood. There's 25 kids under the age of 10. You know, there's no speed bumps. There's no. It's just it's a straightaway that is being encouraged to go up to 25, and it just seems excessive. And if you're going to connect the two neighborhoods, all we're asking is just to make it more just a consistent 20 throughout all of both of those neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Well, whether it actually makes a difference, I don't know. People are probably going to speed if they want to or not, but at least we're just taking some of that potential motivation away from them. And that's all we're asking is that one straightaway be down to 20 to match everything else in those two neighborhoods.
I didn't realize the other one was funny.
It is.
Seems to me
So
that's
where it's curvy, it goes to 20? Where it
No,
curves.
actually, there's only 2 speed signs in that entire neighborhood, and it's as you're entering off of Route 1, there's a 20.
Oh, you're
and
talking
then-
about West Ox?
I'm
Yeah.
talking about, yeah, Spencer Knowles, our attached one, and then on the way out. They have no speed signs in their cul-de-sacs. It's,
Well, that's the other issue is
Yeah.
the number of signs.
Now, but you have to understand that's a 40B, okay? That was outside of our purview.
Well,
And no, really, it was.
it wasn't approved by us, that's.
Well,
That's what I'm saying.
I think in reality, when they put
criteria wasn't
things,
approved by us because it was a 40B. We didn't.
I mean,
I'm
things
not,
on
it's not an
paper,
excuse, but it was kind of a different kind of
Okay.
process. That's
I think
so.
when things are on
Don't you
paper,
can't. It's apples. We like to say apples and apples in the process.
yeah, we're just sort of looking for more continuity with the 2 neighborhoods.
I
And
agree,
just
yeah.
given that there's so many young kids, I mean, we have 4
See,
kids
yeah.
under 6. And there's a stop sign as you enter Wild Pasture. Everybody stops and they accelerate right by our house. And it's a safety concern. And 25 just seems too fast. Then if you look at 20 going around the cul-de-sacs, you can't do 20.
You really can't,
It's
but-
too narrow. So it just seems kind of ridiculous to have even speed signs. It's just sort of common sense that you're going to go slower around a circle.
and there are no speed signs.
What's it
Again,
on
if we're-
Dodge Road?
If we're
Daniel
comparing
Road.
to the other
Daniel
more
Road.
if we're comparing to the other more established neighborhood,
20,
there is no speed signs at all in their cul-de-sacs.
20, the
Right.
best.
And there really is only, 2 speed signs in that entire neighborhood that both reflect 20. Because I think people realize once you're in the cul-de-sac, you're only going to go as fast as you really can. I mean, you cannot go 20.
Honestly.
I mean, we're not lobbying to get that reduced, because I
Right.
think the reality of that situation is that you really can't go probably more than 10 without smashing into your neighbor's
May I
front
show you
door.
some photos just so that you can
Sure,
see
yeah,
the road?
sure.
And then the other issue is just the number of
So
signs.
this is Arrowhead, and this is the 20 going on. I mean, look at that chart.
Do you want less signs or more signs?
This is.
No,
This
less
is another
signs.
one.
You
Less.
don't want 20
Around
on
There's
it.
about 3 20
I
speed
think
signs within
that if we
one.
had a sign
Every house there has young
at the
kids.
beginning of the neighborhood, and then maybe another one where it sort of hooks up with
See, it all
another
goes by state statute.
neighborhood.
Yeah, see,
But,
that's
I
just.
mean, literally-
Kind of like usual.
There. This is a few houses down from us, there's a 25.
I just said like 15.
Well, yeah, I mean, we didn't want to get too, like, picky and be like, we want to here. We just, but it literally, is the
Mark.
cul
I guess the question I
Mark,
have
you really have to pay attention to the board, please, and not,
So they're gonna
Otherwise,
connect, they're gonna
Let's make sure
connect
they
this
can't-
road to that.
that's just the way
You know what,
it goes. I'm serious about that. We don't engage, the people who come and take their time to come here engage us as a group, not individually.
Well, it's not his fault. I
I'm
asked
just-
him, I didn't
But
understand.
that's what happened, that's the way, that's
So it's
fine,
no,
Chairman.
so no one on the board talks to anyone there?
No,
unless
not,
it's-
I'm just telling you,
Order.
they,
Goes through the
they,
chairman.
it goes through the chairman.
Okay.
And I didn't, unfortunately, I didn't bring it. I mean, on the phone, you can see
I got it on my phone.
Weathersfield and coming up from Weathersfield. And then the Arrowhead Circle, the Wild Pasture Lane, Oak Ledge Circle, and then you see that it hasn't connected yet to the other
Yes.
neighborhood, but it eventually will. And to give you some perspective, I mean, there's sections of Weathersfield that are 25 miles an hour, and that's a double lane, double yellow lined road.
Even right in front, even on the way here.
It's
when-
25, and-
After you leave the VFW and you take the right, that's all 25 right there.
And this is just a secluded, quiet neighborhood, and and again, I think when it was all written out on paper, it sounds fine, yeah, 20, 25, here, put a sign here, but in practicality, this neighborhood sort of was built on conservation land, and pride themselves in
Patrick-
establishing or keeping that, and then they put 3 speed signs in a cul-de-sac that is a tiny cul-de-sac.
Yeah, we may have gone over some
recommendation.
It's kind of like in front of the police station where there's like, you
Where
know,
there's
70,
no parking
75,
signs.
the most no parking,
They're making their point.
We were very concerned about people driving too fast, and the allegation was that it was gonna be a cut-through from Route 1 to Weathersfield Street, that people would just take those 2 roads just to get, to save time. But so we were trying to slow traffic down, and I guess we may have gotten carried away on the signage.
I mean, I'll make a commitment. I think I'll work with Kirk and Patrick, the police department, and look at whatever.
I really do.
Is that okay
I
with you to do
agree,
that?
I agree with this, because if you say 25, people are gonna go 30.
I agree with you. I mean,
And
our
with
street's
children-
25 and people go 40, so.
Yeah,
I
You
mean,
know, so if you say 20, you can hope they'll be going 25.
I do.
I'm
Some
just
people-
worried when all these little kids become teenagers.
No,
That's what happened in our neighborhood. Seriously, it does say 25, go in the front of the road, children, it's not
That's
really.
when you gotta
The
flag.
police are there, but people, because it's all straight,
But
people
ultimately,
really go fast.
The highway department would have to make any modifications.
well, that's what I was
to the
gonna
road
say.
signage?
I'm not sure this is within our jurisdiction
It's
anymore.
not really, but I think,
Because it's been accepted by the town.
Right.
Well,
But-
I was looking into the process about, in order to do this, in order to, because it's a posted road that, it would be under the state jurisdiction. What you have to do is that, somebody would have to get another study, a traffic study. If you wanna have signs that are enforceable by the police, get another traffic study that would actually verify.
Well, that's where, when we had this conversation last year with the country club and whether we could restrict the construction traffic to 15 miles on Dodge Road. And same thing, it's state jurisdiction, we couldn't do it, but then someone said, yes, but we can put up a sign that becomes a recommendation, and yet it's not enforceable. I don't think you care whether the police could.
yeah, but it was a
could-
temp sign, those were.
Well, that was a temp sign, that's true. But you're not really worried about enforceability by the
No.
police.
No, I'm
And if
just-
you were, you'd have reckless or careless,
Well,
not
Kirk,
just
let
signs.
Kirk finish on the.
Well, I think, okay, so if you want it enforceable, then you get a traffic study that says that it needs to be reduced. Then bring it, we'd have it, the planning board would decide to endorse it, send it to the state. It's actually an application with Mass DOT. And then, of course, they
Even
decide.
after the road's been accepted.
Yeah.
And then my kids are
Sure.
18, so.
Right.
Well, it didn't say in the it
You don't
didn't
spend the
indicate-
college
it didn't
fund on the
say-
engineer.
this was actually just saying that if you wanted, if you felt like your street needed, that the speed limit was too fast, it didn't really say that this had to be done before.
But it said the planning board would
Well, yeah, the planning board, you'd have to, present it to the planning board, and the planning board would endorse and make the request to the master.
Yeah, who would be the petitioner? That's not, I mean.
I thought it was the chief
But-
of police.
Well, the other thing is that if all you want is a sign that would serve as a recommendation, we can just maybe, I think the question would come is who pays for it, and who pays for the sign? And then, I think that, that highway might be amenable to actually, removing, removing, I mean, I'll confirm with them, because I just.
And that's what I'd like a commitment from this board. That's all we can do is like be a liaison for you and work on it with the highway department, with the police department. I'd be willing to do that.
The police department actually agrees.
Right.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we have a letter from the police chief.
Yeah.
And what does that letter say? I'm trying to
Well, he
remember.
agreed with, that the number of signs and the speed limit could be.
Excessive.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
excessive.
so what did he say, in terms of what we have to do to make it
Oh, we didn't
happen?
give anything about the process.
Yeah.
And I think, Patrick, we can maybe ask the highway department, I'm not gonna speak for them, but we can ask them to remove some of the signs.
Well, the good thing is,
More visually, more aesthetically more appealing.
I mean, they put up new signs on my street, Weathersfield Street, and I don't, as far as I know, they didn't get state approval. I think they just did it, you
Yeah,
know?
the highway department is sometimes the,
it sounds like you'd like them to take down a few of the 20-mile-an-hour signs, so they might have a few spares.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be easy to
We just
swap
switch
between
them?
the middle of the night, but,
But it's not really something I can vote on or make a commitment now, because it's, and
But there's another
it's
issue
outside of
about-
our purview at this point. you
There's
know,
another
in terms
issue on do not enter signs or something like that.
well,
of the
I mean,
ugly ones in the
it,
front of the.
it's just that-
One-way signs?
it's these here. For some reason, one of the cul-de-sacs is one way and the other cul-de-sac is both ways. They seem to be sort of the same size. I don't really know why that was the decision that was made, but this is actually
Those
the,
are kind of,
it's one of those things
that's a
where,
little bit hard.
It is hard, sorry.
Is that too long?
We need that over at the Mexican restaurant.
That's a little hard.
and again, it's, there's conservation land all over the place.
I think you need one, you're supposed to have one.
Themselves into, it's a nice conservation land, and then they throw up all these signs all over.
Why can't there just be a one-way sign?
That would be nice, it's just a one-way arrow
Yeah.
that goes clockwise would be good.
That's too much signage.
That's big.
Yeah.
They do that
Yeah,
on
also.
Kingery
I
Farm.
don't think it
They
was
have
anything
a
of it.
one-way sign.
Yeah.
And they also, I don't know how they did it, but their
It's before my time, so.
condominium.
Yeah, no, I
put up
it's,
20
It's true that-
mile-an-hour signs.
Yeah, well, they're not town roads. so-
I mean, I invite you all, you
Oh, yeah.
spin around the
Leave this.
neighborhood, it's close, and you can
We'll
take a
work with
look,
Patrick.
and,
We're gonna try.
I will do that.
So,
We're gonna try for you, we will.
thank you, I appreciate
Thank you.
that, anything you
We'll
can
just
do
tell
would
you,
be good.
it has been recorded, we got the
Turn on.
recordation information back, so, and that means the barrier will
This
be coming
gentleman
out.
would like to say something.
very
Oh,
soon.
sure,
Yeah, when is that?
just state your name
I don't know
and
when,
speak
but-
up.
My name is Bob Patiti. I live on Oak Ledge Circle,
Judy
same,
Patiti.
same development.
Okay.
And since you brought up the one cul-de-sac is one way, one is not one way, we live on the one that's not one way. And just as an observation, it gets to be a bottleneck, like especially when you have any kind of a person parking on Oak Ledge Circle for some reason or another. Could be a lawn maintenance person, could be anybody, could be a
Like
UPS
a
delivery
landscaper or
truck,
something.
anybody who
The
parks.
Jordan's furniture truck.
Exactly.
UPS.
The school bus uses our street because it can't turn around when it drops the children off twice a day, 3 times
That's
a day.
probably why it's both
So
ways.
it's gotta, well, it comes, we don't actually have any children on our street yet, but it comes from down further down, and it makes the turnaround Oak Ledge to turn around and go back out of the development. So, we've observed since the 2 years we've been living there, that it's gotten to be at times a real bottleneck, especially in a winter time, because the streets never get plowed, even, they're narrow as it is, and they never get plowed to their full width. I'm more wondering why that wasn't made one way also, because it would alleviate anybody having to back up. I mean, sometimes if you're there when the bus is trying to go by and somebody else is parked, somebody's got to back up, and it's never the bus. So it's sort of, I don't want to say it's a safety issue, because I don't know if it really is a safety issue, but it's an issue of congestion in a quiet little neighborhood. You have this bottleneck for, to me, it seems to be for no reason. I'm just raising the question. I don't, I guess it wasn't included in the petition, but it seems if you have one they're both the same size streets on cul-de-sacs. You have one way and one not one way, it doesn't make sense to me.
the same sign.
Yeah, I thought yours was bigger.
Well,
More
at one end, almost on the far end, the road becomes very narrow as it comes around to go back out. I agree at the beginnings of the streets, they are a tiny bit wider, probably,
I'm talking, it has more houses on it, is what I'm.
yes, it does.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
not, the radius is.
Do you recall the reason for that? I mean, I'm trying to, you and I were there
Yeah,
on the board at the time,
I can't remember.
They were the only two on the board at the time.
How many houses on Oak
but
now?
On Oak Ledge?
Yeah, it's great.
1, 2, 3, off the top of my head, I'm gonna say either 7 or 8, I don't know exactly for sure.
A lot of them have happened recently. Right?
Yeah, so the last 4 went up this past
There
year,
might even be a little 9, maybe, I think.
maybe 9. If you include the one on the
My
corner,
photo shows one.
the one on the corner, I don't know if that's
The
actually.
gray one's not Oak Ledge.
Yeah, that might be, I
That's
think
not
that
Oak
is
Ledge.
actually wild pasture.
I actually watch the bus, I stay at home a lot. I watch the bus driver in the winter. For some reason, the road is not the same as you go. We're 29, we're at the Brown House. It got narrow. I don't know why. The placement of the sidewalk got narrow. So you almost saw, many times I had to back all the way up because the poor bus driver, she had a horrible time. It just was really hard. So we were just wondering, could ours be made a one-way street?
Let's take a look at it.
Yeah, I don't even
I
have
suppose
kids, but
anything
there
can
there
be-
are some young children.
It can be
A couple of them have
changed, I
young
think, some
babies,
way, right?
and another couple have 3 little kids, so it will be
You
like
can amend it,
just.
yeah, okay, I mean,
I just think it would solve a
I think
problem.
the town can do it.
Yeah.
And
Because
then-
now it's a town accepted road, if the highway department, the fire department, the police department are in agreement.
I think we want to see everyone who lives in that street be pretty much in agreement.
Actually, they got about 40 names on the petition, so looks like there's pretty good support for
And why don't we
some
try to
change.
bring these up to the highway department first and try to get feedback from the fire department and police department, and I think,
That's Larry too, he would be.
and Larry, of course, he would be part of it, yeah.
It would actually make it easier for
I
the
mean,
fire department also.
I don't see why things can't be improved aesthetically as well as from a functionality standpoint.
And in regards to this, yeah, it seems like they would
Some of
be
these things
signs.
don't show up until people actually live there and use it, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
And we didn't have all this up until like 3 or 4 months ago. There was no signage, you know, for the most part. It was everybody kind of just, you know.
Plans, you know, I don't know.
certainly if you have a chance,
There's
drive
road-
through the neighborhood and, take a peek and try to drive 20 and 25 and just to give yourself a sense, it's,
It's the regs versus the practical implementation when you're actually, it's plans versus people. You know, plans are plans, and then you see, when you live there, it's different.
And the interesting thing is they're all young couples. We're the only, like, we're retired, us, late 60s, but they're going to
You can't
have
always
more
go
and
by
more
that.
kids are popping
You know,
up.
demographics change in neighborhoods, that's
We actually
really,
drive worse.
you
though,
can't
that's the
just,
problem.
yeah. And the police can't be everywhere at once,
Yeah.
you know, so it's incumbent upon.
Thank God.
Are there plans to open up that connection between the two neighborhoods? Do you know? I mean,
that,
Yeah, and now the Mylar's been recorded just the other day, so it's gonna be very soon when they remove it.
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't get used a lot. I don't.
I don't think it will.
but if it does
Well,
come down to an issue
You don't
between,
save any time by using it.
You do
Well-
know, I've talked to several parents who are, you know, there was a period of time that they did remove those blocks last year before the winter, and I know I spoke to several parents who were delighted because they were able to rush to school.
Well, I could see that, but
Those
what
are
I was,
the parents, yeah. but
what I
I'm
was talking
other
about is
people.
people from Route 1, you know, making that cut through. not
I can
people-
see neighborhood people who
Yeah.
live there using it, but
Yeah.
I'm talking about people who go to Weathersfield Street and go, oh, by the way,
Is
I
that,
can.
No, but I mean, even so, I mean, we live right on that straightaway on, you know, Wild Pasture, and as it is right now, we see people fly by our house.
The
You know, and I
intersection,
have 4 kids out there riding their bikes.
the intersection
It's
with,
scary.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous.
It can, yeah.
The intersection with Ox Pasture and Route 1 is kind of nightmarish. I mean, if I was a parent driving kids to Pine Grove, I would want to, you know, just
An option, yeah.
go down Wild Pasture and avoid that
The
intersection.
back roads to Pine Grove
Yeah.
instead of going on Route 1.
Definitely.
Just don't know with GPS these days whether people.
I don't
take a
think-
Shortcut, that's all.
You know, then you can ask the police, I mean, like I said, I brought kids up in this town, people do exceed the speed limit, certain people, other people adhere to it. We have a lot of truck traffic, and truck traffic is okay when it's going slow, but when trucks are going speeding, they can't stop, you know? Not the, they just can't stop, and they take up more room.
Mm.
So that's when the police have to intervene and make sure people just don't do it. They have to radar, they will work the streets for you.
but lowering that to 20 from 25, even if it is not,
Well,
the
then it gives
easier
you that
route
20
is to do it not enforceable, just to have a sign there that's a deterrent, I guess would be preferable than
No,
maybe years of bureaucratic stuff with the state in order to get it, you know, enforceable.
I can't
So
imagine the
just-
town commissioning a traffic study right now. either.
20.
We're spending money.
Yeah, just make it 20, just make it, everything leaving between the two neighborhoods.
We're spending money with no assurance of the outcome.
So have the residents submitted this letter or a similar letter to any other board? Or, or to the highway department?
No, I mean.
No, I mean, I've referred it over to Patrick, he's aware of it, but
copy of the petition.
we were waiting till after the street acceptance
Mhm.
Gotcha.
process, because we didn't want, you
Let
know.
them know that this,
Well, so you're gonna stay on top of this and try to.
We will.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's all, as long as we
Chair,
can
we'll
have
talk,
some follow-up. Yeah.
put it to me with the police chief, or, make
You
sure.
saw
the
how
fire-
close the
Yeah.
vote was on
Well, then I-
Well, my vote was the one, we were the one that, I think my vote was the one that brought it over.
All right, all of it is plausible, it makes perfect sense to
Yeah.
us. I don't disagree with you, but it's not really our purview, but I think we can work together with you.
Yeah, with the,
And I agree that if it's non, you know, if the DOT, there's- you could go through that whole process and pay the money, and you may not get.
Oh, yeah, you don't wanna go
You
through
may
that.
not get what you want because they have strict, no, they have rural, they have categories, and you may be in a category they can't change, you know.
Well, at least if they can work with the highway department and get the
We should-
sign up before it becomes a real usable passageway, then the
That's a good
sign's
point.
already
Yeah,
there.
that would be helpful, that,
You know.
so you don't
That's
set
a
the
good
precedent,
point.
and you're
Yes.
trying to
Sure.
backtrack.
You know,
Leverage.
That would be
so
nice.
if they think you can go from 20 to 25, so they're going 25.
Is
and they're
Daniel's
going 30.
20?
Daniels
It's
is 20 at by the
Where
wagon
it's
factory.
curvy, right.
Yeah, but I think it's 30 beyond that, going past the Raleigh Country Club.
And that's with the state DOT, they, even on a rural road, it goes 30, 40, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think and Dodge is also 30,
Yeah.
which is pretty high in there,
Mm.
It
to
is
that
on
farm, yeah.
But there are no, there are no lines, it's not a
And there won't be
2-lane,
lines,
yeah.
it doesn't snow this hard, there won't be lines.
So, yeah, anything that you guys could do would be appreciated.
We're on it.
Good.
Thank you,
Thanks for coming in.
I think Kirk is the best point of contact, because he's the one that
He's- yeah.
speaks with the other departments, and,
Visit you.
yeah. All right,
I don't know if you want to keep
Thanks,
those
man.
or...
Yeah, we'll keep, he'll keep filing this.
thank you very
And
much.
feel
All right,
free to-
thanks.
Feel free to circle back and be on us to make sure we're, you know,
But that was a good point, that that if something could be done sort of while we're trying to figure it out before it gets open,
maybe
just to...
Patrick can do it before it opens up.
well, I mean, I think, I know that we're gonna have to discuss like how it's, financially, how it's going to get done, because I don't think the highway is gonna pay for this.
Well, there may be some.
You take one of the 20s,
Can't they
You
take
take
the
one of the
20s
out of
out
one of the
and put
three
the
20s in
20s
the cul-de-sac and put it
Yeah,
in
that's
the
what, I mean,
Spread them
we'll
out.
have to, maybe I should get like, maybe we should just talk about meeting with Patrick and,
See,
I don't, we'll have to
Have to go down there with his
Wait,
wrenches.
down
I have a
Allowed
socket
to
wrench, so...
eliminate speed signs in the cul-de-sac? Is it mandatory that there are signs in the cul-de-sac, or?
Well, I don't know that there's mandatory that
Not
there are
mandatory.
signs.
Okay, I mean, it just seems.
there might be a self-help
Hey,
remedy.
Hey, you know,
Patrick, I'll talk to Patrick about what,
I like your style.
I'll talk to him tomorrow, and we can maybe set up a meeting or something.
This is the best way to do it,
Come
because
up
there's
with
some
something.
extras here and there's some
Yeah,
new stuff that
I'd
needs.
like to see you can have some home rule influence, you're the ones that live there.
yeah.
Okay. All right, excellent, thank you guys.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Thanks again for coming
Now I
in.
know how to handle my dead ends.
Thank you, have a good night.
Thanks.
I'm just gonna do it myself.
Yeah, yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, keep this brief, because it's all going, all right.
On the other side of the railroad tracks. Yeah.
All right, this has been brought, this next issue is something Kurt has been brought to his attention that goes way back. And so he just wants to give a short overview of
Short.
the situation at Kathleen Circle Extension.
Yeah, I was at, Mr. Marshall is here.
Come on up. State your name and,
Barry Marshall, 43 Kathleen Circle.
thanks for coming in.
And I think a lot of this began with, because there was a indication from the town that, of course, out here at Kathleen Circle, which these are all still private roads, they have never been accepted by the town, well, except for Christopher Road, which there was an eminent domain hearing a while back, so that had been accepted through eminent domain, but the rest of it still remains in private hands, and so I think there was an indication that to the residents there that the town would stop plowing.
No, not even close.
Oh,
Not
really?
even
Because
close.
that's what.
No, not even close. They stopped plowing it, they're gonna stop plowing, which is good, because that's what the neighbors want.
No, I want to, okay, as chair, I have to keep control of this. I want to get right to the point and not to the opinion. Like, what what is the issue? I want to get right to the
My issue is this.
I want to get right to the issue.
Fine. My issue is that Kathleen Circle had a security bond. It was released by the town. The road was never accepted. Why was the bond released without the road being accepted?
That was how long ago?
That's what,
Long time ago.
1990s.
Right.
Is that an answer we're trying, so the issue is that we're trying to ascertain that answer?
Right. And no one seems to know.
Now, that's it on, so, but again, what is the issue?
That's the issue.
So,
The
but
security
do you want,
bond.
what is the issue? Do you have a group of neighbors that want the road
No,
accepted?
we have a group of neighbors.
Do they want the road accepted? You
No.
just said, is the issue that the bond was released, the road was not accepted, but is the issue that the road's not accepted?
The reason the reason the neighbors, except for myself, want the road kept as a private way is because 6 years ago, there's 32 acres behind me. I signed an agreement to sell my house for road access to put a 40B in there, elderly housing. The neighbors fought it for years. Come to find out that when it was being a private road, it was understood it was a private road, so therefore the planning board rejected it because it was a private road. Now, where the,
Well,
The state
planning board didn't reject it.
well, someone, I think it was...
That's what I'm saying, you can't,
The state did.
I don't want to get beyond like the fix, so we're getting closer, so that's good information you gave me, so you own, so it's more of a private, so it's an issue of like a resident on the road that is at odds with other residents on the road?
Correct.
Then what's that got to do with
The
the planning
question,
board?
well, the question is this, is still, why wasn't it accepted back then when they released the bond?
These are legal issues that are attached to other legal issues.
Okay, but this is the question to see why it wasn't accepted as a road. If the bond was released, the road should have been accepted. That's the question. I want to know why it was released and
Well,
why...
that's what we're trying to research,
Okay.
right?
That's all, that's the
Yeah,
question.
I guess we're trying to, yeah, I mean, that's,
But we're
Originally,
researching...
from, this is the history detective speaking.
There's a lot of history here, I know
Yeah,
that.
back in around.
at least good about Gene, having someone who's been on the board.
I
a
know,
long
that's what
time.
I'm saying,
Well,
no.
When
Gene
we-
wasn't on the board when this
No,
But I mean, she-
I wasn't
she's
on
been
the
on
board,
the
but
town.
I
She knows
was
the town.
I was on the Open Space Committee, we were trying to save
Okay.
Hunsley Hills. And we were successful, but we saved not the whole of Hunsley Hill. There's a section that another person bought, which abuts Mr.
Correct.
Marshall's property. And he wanted to put housing units, so, excuse me for my opinion, but defacing the Haverhill Street side and making it housing instead of having beautiful trees and things. So he wanted to put housing in there. And the people in Kathleen Circle got together and fought personally with their own money to keep Kathleen Circle a private road so that the developer could not develop that land. And I think, Mr. Marshall, you were willing to sell your property to that person. I'm trying to remember his name, but I can't.
But again, we're
So that
anecdotal, we're getting
So-
anecdotal.
And
But this is the history of it.
But I think that was, that 40B development, I
Right.
think, was after the bond was released, if a bond was released.
This was bond was
I
released
didn't-
back
I
in the
didn't find
90s.
out
Well,
some of
I mean,
this.
didn't it come after a year, at
When-
least a
when
few
was-
years
I
after
don't,
that?
I
Do you
don't
remember what
when-
year that was?
Trying to remember what year Hunsley Hills was
That was
purchased.
Well, it was while I've been on
It
the
was
board.
before
and-
this Community Preservation Act.
Yeah,
Yes,
right,
yes.
but it was while I was
But
on the
hasn't
board,
Kirk been
but
doing some research for you in terms of looking at old minutes and those sorts of things?
Well, that's the other thing. As much as all this stuff is interesting,
Yeah.
the only thing that matters is what the special permit to build or otherwise the subdivision approval said as far as whether it was going to be a private road or a public road.
Well, I think the
Well, Chris-
intention was that it would be a public road on the definitive subdivision plan. But for some reason, in 1989, they did try to accept all three streets into the town system, and at that 1990 or 1989 spring town meeting, it was postponed indefinitely.
yeah.
So there was no indication why that happened. I know that there were some.
Well,
I recall, I don't know if this even matters, because we don't have, the fact is the town doesn't have a bond. I mean, so
Right.
we just don't have a bond, so what are you gonna do about that? It's like, this is like,
Yeah, so again, I'm not
20
understanding the issue.
The question
It
is,
hasn't been accepted. The bond is so, I mean, I can't, in every town in the North Shore, in every town in Massachusetts, there are situations.
it's 26 years after the fact.
Yeah, there are situations where some roads don't get accepted for various reasons. You have kind of uncovered one, you're trying to make a connection for why it wasn't accepted. It might be a little more complex.
I think it is way more.
It might be more complex. I mean, everybody has an opinion as to why, so I just want to stick with the facts. And if the facts lead towards acceptance of the road later, and we can help in that regard, we will. Because I think that's one of my
Well, there's no bond.
that's one of my goals as chairman. When residences come to us, you know, and we have done that. We've tried to get roads.
Yeah, but there's no bond, we're not gonna get
That's what
another
I'm-
bond.
No, that's what I'm saying, but
Right,
even
and
without a bond.
unless the
I'm
residents
saying-
get together and suddenly pay for the as-built
Yeah.
plan and
Yeah.
otherwise
As
bring
far as I
everything
know,
up.
the residents don't want this.
Exactly,
to be accepted.
exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
And they own the street.
My
so
point is, we
Right.
take cases before us when residents say they want the streets
The
accepted.
town would have to do another eminent domain taking, and I don't think that's gonna happen. no.
which they did on Christopher
Right,
Road.
right.
So I think you're
Which
kind
the
of
residents wanted. is
Yeah, we're not.
correct.
You know, we're not.
But
We're just the
You've been
planning board.
plowing
We're,
it.
you know, we're not.
since I've been there, I've been in Raleigh 37 years. I was on Christopher Road for 10, and I've been on Kathleen Circle since 1990. And you've been plowing that road both roads since 1980. Why are you plowing a road that's private?
Well, because
Not
they still
supposed
pay taxes.
Huh?
They're still paying taxes.
But
They're
now
not
what they're
supposed to.
doing, I mean, just to interject something, the selectmen's, I'm the guy that's got my hair raised, because I was gonna try to sell it, and they wanna keep it private, fine, it's private. They're not gonna plow the roads anymore, the highway department's gonna send a notice out, basically stating Interville Circle and Kathleen Circle will no longer be plowed, repaired by the town. Which is private, that's what they want, and I'm happy about that. So, I mean, I can't get an answer, I can't get it accepted as a public road, then so be it, that's what they want. And that's what they got.
For a time, but I still don't see where.
Well, the question,
But I'm just saying, how the current planning board,
I know that, but
how will
unfortunately,
we
because of
involve,
a
how is the
mistake,
current planning board involved in this?
because you people are planning board, it was a mistake that the
How is
town
the
made,
current planning board
evidently
involved?
releasing the bond. We, us paying for the mistake they must have made back then.
No, you could release the bond,
And not accept the road.
that's correct.
Under what conditions would that be, I mean?
I don't know.
Well, then that's what I'm saying, that's hypothetical.
But we didn't really, well, I think what.
The current
Curtis
planning
trying to say
board
the
is
current-
not controlling what happened
Yeah.
20 years ago.
I know that, and that's what everybody's saying.
Well,
No
it's
one-
true though, that's a
But
fact.
I'm saying, no one knows anything, but they just want to keep.
No, we do. I know what's happening in front of us now, and I know when we retain bonds, and I know that our goal, we just in the last town meeting voted to have 3 roads accepted. And I just had a meeting tonight where I'm not even releasing a bond because the guy hasn't recorded a plan.
Yep.
But that's, you know,
I remember there
I
was.
can go forward, I can't, it's
No, I know that,
difficult for
but
me to go
what
backwards.
My whole thing is that I keep asking a question, and I keep on hearing the same thing. I don't know why they released the bond, that was years ago.
Well, they're
But
public records, you just go. they're
Where is the
records.
public record?
Actually, I sent you the public record,
Yeah.
the minutes for all the, did you?
Yeah, but it doesn't say why they didn't accept the
I
road.
found that to be the same problem.
But we
I
can't
can
make
only
up a
read
reason.
what's actually,
You don't have to accept the road.
Well, it's not a requirement, no.
yeah, it's not a
No.
requirement.
You release the bond when the work is complete.
There's 1, 2, it's at least 3 paved streets where which could be construed as subdivisions on my street that are not accepted. And I don't know why they weren't, to
No,
my
I mean,
mind, they should have
at
been.
this point, I was scheduled to come here, I wanted to ask the question.
Well, no,
I
they're
mean,
good
I
questions,
really
I'm not
don't-
saying they're good questions.
Right now, they want to keep it private, you know, the grates, the drainage things in the streets are all starting to sink. And these people are gonna understand that they're gonna have to pay for these. They're gonna have to pay for the plowing of the whole street. I'm just saying, good luck to them. They're gonna get what they want. They want a private road, they got it now.
No, I think that's your tax money. I think people have found out that especially when the town starts looking at the legality of towns taking care of roads that are not accepted, there's a legality issue there that, and I think it's complicated, because you said that people have these expectations from the years past. But there are these maintenance issues, and our tax money goes towards taking, that's what our tax money is for.
No,
And so, to my mind, it's a cleaner process for roads to be accepted, and the town to take care of them, and that's why, where as a planning board, we should have a goal, what, unless it's one where already the neighborhood, you know, like, you have an association that already agrees
Right.
to pay the betterment that it takes to
The
make
country
it.
club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that should be set up ahead of time, not,
No, I know, I mean,
not
this
20
is,
years later.
this has
Well, in
been
fact,
going on. This was Fred Baldwin, I don't know if you remember that name, he did, they call him Fast Freddy.
No, don't remember that.
Well, I remember the name from Conservation.
Just remember from 1990 on.
Did he build that with his son?
Fast Freddy and Joe Carr.
That was Joe Carr.
Joe Carr, he was his partner back in, God, when I moved in there in 1980, Christopher Road, he had more people taking him to court. I took him to court 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
And the poor slob died, but his daughter, they had to go up to see his daughter in Maine for Christopher Road. She had to sign off the paperwork, which I don't understand why she would have had to sign it off.
Trustee.
Well, they continue
She
on.
could have been a
the road.
trustee.
Yeah.
Isn't she, isn't the developer supposed to take care of it then?
It all depends on what's written in the deed. If the
Yeah.
deed says that
Our
reserved
deed
the
doesn't
fee of the
say
roadway,
hardly
or if
nothing.
it doesn't, then the people who own it abut it own the center line of the
I think
roadway.
it's the latter case there.
That's a lot of really fact.
No, that's all I had, and I
What, I
know
mean,
no
what
one knows
can
why.
we do? I mean, what,
You can't, I mean, no
what
one
do you want
knows
us
why
to
it
do?
was
I mean, what
released.
would you like us to do?
No, I mean, back then it was, I don't know if you were, back in the 80s, it was,
I wasn't here.
there was so much stuff going on.
Now, why would you want the road
When did you
accepted?
come on the board?
Do you want it accepted?
Yeah, I wanted to be
Why
a
would you
public
want it to
road.
be?
Because he's got land.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
I get-
'cause
there's
moved here
people
in
behind me
89.
that wanna
I wasn't
buy
on
the land.
planning board.
Oh, you
Because
front, you
you
need
can't,
frontage
And-
on.
and-
Well, they
You
need my house.
can't have access
I mean,
to
there
a
was,
40B without, unless you're on a
The guy
public way.
the builder was paying me, was,
Here, let one conversation, please.
I'm sorry.
I had an option, they had an option by, I negotiated a deal with them for 2 years, and I mean, everybody, the people in the block put their own money in, the developer had it there. They were gonna buy it, they were gonna give me, back then, they were gonna give me $750,000 for my house. I was crazy not to take it. I mean, I don't really care if it's public or not now. I mean, I'm to a point, I'm not gonna sell it, no one's gonna buy it, the guy's landlocked behind us. But it's just that they want what they got, and that's, you know, it's just.
So they,
Hey, you're still alive.
Oh, I know, it's just that, you know, when you go, we had planning board meetings there, they had 40 people here, and I was the only, it was just brutal back then, and it still is now. Because I did something with front of the planning board and asked them the same questions.
What,
why
this
wasn't
planning
it-
No, not this one.
I'm sorry, the selectmen, and they were, it was just crazy. They get what they want now, that's what I'm saying.
The
They got
the
this whole
neighbors were
thing.
very well organized, and before the ZBA, that's where most of this stuff
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Before
Yeah.
we-
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Have a good night.
No, I
Thanks
think,
for coming
Kirk,
in.
I mean, whatever Kirk can, I mean,
No, I think, I mean, no one really knows why. They, like I said, it was 37 years ago.
I know the public records and,
But they could have been, they could be, you know, how do you know how they stored them through? They could be,
but as Kirk has been responsive and sent you.
no,
away,
Kirk's
so-
been good, but I'm just saying the question is, like I always said to him, is like why, no one really knows, and it's
Yeah,
just,
we're kind
it's over and done with.
of, I sent you everything we had. that
No,
was
I get all that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that, it just was a crazy thing. But I, you know, it's their issue. Thank you for.
When was that road up?
Thank
When, how long ago? What year?
1990, 1989, they tried to go through town
Yeah,
meeting.
on Christopher, I lived on Christopher Road, and he wanted to put Kathleen Circle in. I mean, everybody on Christopher Road and Intervale Circle tried to fight him putting Kathleen Circle in. I mean, we all went down, and I don't know, he went through and all that, you know. We had 40 people at every planning board meeting trying to fight him from putting Kathleen Circle in.
Did he do Christopher Road and Kathleen Circle?
Yes.
And he left a couple holes there to cut another loop in, right? A
You
couple
know,
lots or something like that?
I don't know, there's one next to Louis, down at the bottom. No, I think there was,
That's how he got You know, I'm looking at the map,
Yeah.
and they had some openings
You
in
can
there.
tell, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't, you
It's
know, I
kind of
think
a
he
weird-
might have wanted to try to buy the 32 acres behind my house. I think he wanted to try to put houses in there also. But I don't remember, I think it came to, they're only gonna be able to put like 4 or 5 houses in, it was no.
Because it might have been a cul-de-sac and it only can go in 500 feet.
Yeah, and there was something like that, because when they were gonna do that 40B, I remember them saying about a cul-de-sac and the fire department getting in and out of there and all that. But that was just 5, 6 years ago for that, but I don't know, he might have done,
That's recent.
they call it fast Freddy.
More recent.
Yeah.
Longer than that.
Well, thanks for coming in.
Hey, no problem, thank you for your time.
Thank you for waiting so long to the
No,
end of
no.
the agenda.
No problem, thank you.
All right, thanks.
It's fun taking a stroll down memory lane.
It's actually a wide range of reactions from different citizens, because there had been some citizens come in and they wanted to stay private.
Oh, yes, no doubt about
All
it.
right, quickly before we just sign bills and so forth, I want to publicly welcome Mark Sabry and congratulate him on his really hard-fought election. It was a brutal campaign, but you prevailed.
Had to knock on many doors.
It was his organization, I think.
Did you get all your signs taken down? So, I just,
All you want is the blanks not to be.
welcome to the planning board in your first meeting, and
Thank you, sorry I
Wish
spoke
you
out of
best
turn
luck.
over here, I didn't realize.
don't worry, you'll
I know I'm sure you'll knock me down.
Along the same lines, I'd like to talk about my replacement if that's
You gotta
okay with
stay.
you. Huh?
You gotta stay.
Well, Steve indicated he'd be willing to finish out my term.
You sure?
Which is over in 2018, so it's.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
2018.
so
We all gonna be
if
around.
he's,
Well, if anything, well,
if he's still interested.
You would be an associate
I mean,
member, that would be.
I mean, if-
No,
Huh?
no, he'd be a real member,
Yeah.
because he'd be in Cliff's seat.
Right.
Yeah.
I-
He'd be
I-
appointed.
my goal as chair is to make sure I
He
have a
was
full
appointed.
board.
The selectmen would
The
have
first
to
time,
approve it, but
wasn't he? He
yeah.
finished out somebody else's term
Yeah.
before, so he did the
Yeah,
same.
he was appointed before, and then he
Yeah, I
ran.
tried to find a
Thank you very much
eligible
for-
resident to join, but he has some obligations at home that he couldn't really commit the time to it.
Yeah.
Are you
I thought,
looking for
you
other
know,
people
we-
to?
I thought Steve
take
was
your
an
spot?
excellent
Well, there's-
member while he was here. I
Yeah.
was sad to see him go. I mean, he
He's
had,
trained,
Yeah,
right?
And,
he's got training.
yeah, he's got training.
Yeah, right.
Can you follow through on that? If you can follow through, then we'll revisit
I need
that.
several
Can't
people.
think
You
of
need
that.
training.
No, I'm not gonna leave the board in the lurch, but yeah, if he's willing, then I think that makes sense.
It's a lot of commitment to do both boards,
It is.
Yes.
And I don't think it's really a good idea either for the town. I think
so
we
maybe.
should have more people involved rather than fewer people. Right?
Okay, and I appreciate you, I mean, he was kind of on the agenda for like.
Yeah, I know, I was,
An interview, but I guess personal issues and so forth, so.
yeah, his brother's, well, they're both, he's the president of the Navy Reserves and going to Afghanistan. Who knew they were sending troops to
They
Afghanistan?
have to switch some
Navy
people
Reserve.
around.
Yeah, he's pretty
But thanks again for.
well trained, I
so.
guess.
All right, that's a process, but I think we need to make sure we, for voting purposes, I remember when we only had 4, it gets, from a statutory standpoint, it gets difficult when we can't,
Oh, yeah, it can get very difficult.
so. I just wanna welcome you to the board.
What else we got?
Sign stuff and then we're
I
done.
could just use a couple of signatures. David's already
We
signed
look at minutes?
this one,
Yeah,
but
look at
We have
minutes.
minutes?
one more
Says
bill
Chris.
for.
Do we have minutes this time or not? No.
Yeah, there, oh, actually, yeah, there are 2 sets of minutes in
Two
there.
cents, I only
Yeah.
looked
Yeah.
at.
I was trying to catch up.
Oh, they're right there.
April
I did.
1st, April 20, or April
No,
1st.
I
April
didn't, I was
2nd.
hoping we were skipping it, but I didn't know there.
April 8th and, all right, I'll sign this, just look at minutes and we'll just, then we can adjourn.
Oh, and
Just
then
do- Which one you at, April 1st and 8th, what?
April 1st and April.
First was for-
8th. April 1st was actually
That was-
Mark's application.
That was for one thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you still have to do
What's that,
minutes.
like one paragraph?
It's short, but April 8th was the public hearings prior to the town
Zoning
meeting.
change.
Well, before we do this, when's the next meeting?
Well, that was what I was going to.
Before people run away from me here, so I wanna do that
I
first.
think there was a June 17th, June 24th. If you
Can't
could-
do the 24th, probably.
Probably should meet one more time before the end of the fiscal year.
Can we meet the 17th?
I can.
I can.
I would rather do the 17th, that'll be the last meeting in June, is that okay?
Oh, yeah.
What's
Okay.
on the agenda?
Well, we'll have, that's the last meeting, and then we can reorg or
Right
whatever.
Yeah.
And then I can defer some of these minutes, so we don't have to do it tonight.
All right, let's do it to December 17th.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Because people really haven't, it's late, and I want to,
Make a motion.
especially,
to postpone
especially with the April 8th, they're kind of long minutes, and I really want people, is that okay?
Yeah.
I
Make a
can-
That's
motion
why I
to
asked about
postpone,
the-
postpone.
I don't want to rush minutes when we have this long public
I have
hearing.
to use my calendar on my
Okay,
phone
what?
for it, because no one gave me a calendar.
I did,
No.
I didn't?
No,
I mean, I went through the
I
minutes,
thought I
and-
brought it with me, and I didn't get it to you.
I'm teasing.
You got things, Cliff, on the minutes?
yeah, I found some typos, so I wonder if
All
I
right,
could just give them to
go-
Kirk and.
Just give them to Kirk.
Yeah, I'll make the change.
I just don't want to rush
Let me
that
get
thing
spell
at this
check.
point.
My name on page one of,
Is that
Right,
okay? Do you want to do
Why have
the,
I always
do you want to do the April 1st, because they were short, even though I can't find
Yeah,
it?
I mean, we can just wait and approve all of them, because I'll have the other set.
Is that okay with the
Let's
board,
postpone it.
that we do it in the 17th?
Yes.
Especially
Make
if
a
we have
motion
time?
that we postpone.
Yeah, fine.
You want me to make any motions?
No, I don't have to.
well, then use your motion to close.
I can mention
Yeah.
for
I
sake.
think we
Wait,
gotta
did everybody
take-
sign? Wait. Kurt will tell when we're ready to close.
Oh, the only thing was, I wanted to bring up this topic of the
I have it.
flat screen,
Go ahead.
of the flat screen TV, just to show.
Yeah, he's gonna be able to do plans and stuff up on the,
Yeah, just to
the
show
computer.
everybody what we're looking at, instead of a projector
they're
system.
great. No,
Yeah.
you listen to this one?
Yeah.
When I go to other towns and meetings, you know how they,
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
you can either hardwire it, and a lot of times they do actually hardwire it, because it's just.
Or laptop it?
But anyways,
Yeah,
all these plans and stuff that comes before us goes right up, or so, you know, and Kurt can do it from his laptop.
yeah, we'd connect, presumably, I was talking about a couple different ways of doing it, but, I mean, the most obvious way is to have an HDMI connection between the laptop and one of these.
It's more solid, you know, it's not
Yeah.
subject to.
can I see what,
Yeah, we have some money left in the budget, which we've been talking about
Yeah.
trying to use
We have
before
money.
the end of the month. But I had to actually, because we're talking about installing something onto the wall here that,
Would be used by other boards too.
yeah, I went to the administrator's office and I talked to Amy about it, and she's actually looking in to see that if the finance committee might be amenable, because all of the different boards would be sharing this, that actually the cost would be shared, potentially for the, not for the computer itself, but for just the
Display.
LED display,
Display.
so. This is what I'm looking at, and as soon as I get clearance from Amy to know exactly who's participating, I mean, I'll probably just go in and buy, and then have a receipt for you guys by the next meeting. And maybe even have it
We
installed.
already voted in the meeting, you can upgrade.
I mean,
Yeah, I just, because we talked about
yeah,
it.
it makes sense. I mean, Kirk, is there somebody from the town that organizes the technology,
There's an IT.
networking, and, I mean, and have
Well,
you-
there is an IT, oh yeah, I can,
I mean, it would seem like you'd want to try to coordinate your purchase with them to see if there's a standard that they're using, or a vendor that they use, or, you know, I mean, I'm just, I don't know if that's, it seems like the town must try to organize their technology
maybe I should
purchase.
check, I didn't actually go that avenue. So, I was looking
I mean,
into these because they're actually relatively.
Yeah, right.
No, but
I
I
mean-
asked you to, you need, Chris is right, you need to stay within what the town.
Well, I mean, I
Well, I
don't
don't
want
know,
to make your
because
life
the-
harder.
No, you don't have
prevent-
to, but you would
yeah.
ask that question first, because they do have IT, they do
Yeah,
have certain
This is
vendors. that-
just from here to there.
yeah, I mean,
Right.
this is a, yeah.
Did
I
you already
mean,
get the laptop?
No,
You get a new
not yet.
laptop?
I'm gonna, I mean, that's a much easier purchase. It's much easier to choose a laptop for this than,
Most everything works, too.
you know, I mean.
No, I was just at a Metropolitan Area Planning Commission hearing, and It really worked well for the audience to be able to see.
Oh, sure it
all
does.
the-
Yeah.
The backlit and the whole thing,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it really helped, people could interact with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But now, what standard are applicants gonna need to submit to you so that you have it digitally to project?
Well, I mean, I would be requesting, I mean, we'd still get paper,
Right, but
like,
you're
I'd
not-
be requesting stuff in PDF.
Yeah.
Okay,
And if I got it in paper, I could just scan it. I mean, I
Yeah.
could create most, like, these packets. What I would really do is, instead of sending it out and everybody printing it out, I would just scan it and project it onto the screen. So then you could look at the maps that.
Hopefully it'll reduce the
Yeah.
cost for applicants who feel compelled still to do full-size plans when they don't have to. You know,
You
they
need
should only do,
full-size to
they should only do
file.
those full-size plans that are mandated like by the registry
mhm.
and certainly.
For final,
cut
for
that.
for final
Because from
approval.
our standpoint, we can hopefully live with, you know, I like the full size sometimes in meetings and this and that, but I think when you can keep, if it's there, I'm fine, right? If we have it in our packet,
Right.
you know? Well, we'll see how it evolves, I mean, you know, ask in other towns whether, how well that's worked, you know, in terms of the members themselves and what they require,
Yeah.
you know? Maybe it's something we can get,
And-
you know, I think towns sometimes are slower to adopt technology than business,
Well,
right?
in
It's actually-
in Salem, it's
Have they adopted technology?
not in design review. The client sometimes does it to make it easier to show to the audience and the design review board. They bring their own screen and.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Well, it's, you know, one thing that the school's been doing through the PTA is putting smart boards in all the elementary classrooms, which are very similar to what you're talking about, but they're also similar to an iPad in that a
Yeah.
presenter can go in and enlarge things, and it's also Wi-Fi compatible, so you can operate it from your laptop, but then manipulate it on the screen. I don't think, since we're not the presenter, we're just watching, we
Yeah.
don't necessarily need those kind
Well,
of features.
but we might be the presenter at times. You know, when you're looking at things in town, it's nice to be able to take a Google map or an Apple map and
Well, that's
put it
one
on
of
the
the things
screen
is
to look at
because
the conditions.
we would actually, I mean, we have Wi-Fi in here, so we could actually connect to the internet and go online and use the online mapping and project like Google Map and the MyMap stuff that we use from MVPC and use it during the meeting. We can go and look at properties and zoning and other things. On the
Geez,
online
wouldn't
channel.
people love that? We did aerials of their property while they were here.
They're not gonna like it, but
Well, it'd be Google Map, it's what anybody
Yeah.
can see if you go on
Right.
Google Map.
All right, so nobody has any opposition to him
No, I
looking
think
into this?
Great
and
idea.
Taking input, if you have some email,
Very good.
if anybody has input, like your, like,
No, I mean, I think I'm sure you'll shop just fine, but it just make sure you get
Yeah.
what you need in terms of compatibility with the
Okay.
laptop and,
so it's not a bad use of what resources we have left.
right.
So-
You
Yeah.
know,
I think we'll have just enough.
Think about, is it any Bluetooth in there?
Yeah,
Okay.
there would be, you know, if it were just using HDMI connection, that wouldn't be the worst thing, but it would be nice to really actually take advantage of the Bluetooth.
And what the
technology.
Bluetooth does is it gives other people the
Yeah.
ability to, you could go from your phone right to.
Yeah. yeah.
right.
But there's so many different ways of doing it. You can also do it with a 20.
That's right, we should be
$35
talking to you.
device.
Yeah, I was actually talking to him earlier.
You're-
about
you're-
it. He's the
There's
one
so
who
many
actually
different
came up
ways
with
you
the
can do it.
It's the
idea.
best consultant that we have, so.
He was actually listening to us at the when we were talking about the projector, and when we finished, he actually mentioned, "Why don't you do this?" And then I started looking at the, because I was actually thinking at first when you mentioned it, the cost was like, "Oh, that's going to be way more expensive," but no, it's not.
Yeah,
It's
you were
actually
spending the
way-
money on outgoing technology, right? Yeah.
Well, a projector is, you have a throw distance issue, you have lighting issue,
Yeah.
and then, of course, after about, 800 hours, now you need to buy a $400 bulb.
Yeah, yeah. And the bulbs are.
And I think eventually that technology will be replaced, right?
Yeah,
People
there's
still
a lot,
like it.
a lot of places. I just did some work at a center that they were taking down, some of the projectors that I had installed. They were downsizing, and I built a couple of carts, and it was literally a flat panel display with a computer and a couple of other pieces of outboard gear that they would literally move from conference room to conference room, so you don't have one display in one conference room.
Right. All right. Anything else?
No, actually, that's it.
Motion to adjourn. And also congratulations, Cliff.
Oh, thanks.
Congratulations.
I mean, to take on selectmen, it's a lot to do.
It is a lot to do. It's interesting.
Have you started yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
You have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Gene.